The prison ship Void's End moved through the darkness of space like a silent metal beast. Inside its cold corridors, hundreds of prisoners sat in tiny cells. Most of them were aliens from different worlds, but there were also humans. Not many, but enough to make the guards nervous. Jiwoo sat on the hard bench in her cell. She was a researcher once, a good one. She studied plants and how to grow food on different planets, but then she made a mistake. She tried to smuggle medicine to a colony that needed it. The Galactic Council said it was illegal. They arrested her and put her on this ship. The cell was small, just a bench, a toilet, and gray walls. No windows. The only light came from a strip on the ceiling. It was always the same brightness. Never day, never night. Just endless gray light. Jiwoo tried to count the days, but she lost track after the first month. Time felt strange here. Every day was the same. Wake up. Eat the tasteless food paste. Sit, sleep, repeat. The guards were Vraxians. They were tall, almost 3 meters high. Their skin was thick and blue like armor. They had 4 arms and eyes that glowed yellow in the dark. They looked down at everyone, especially humans. The Vraxians thought humans were dangerous. They called them apex predators in their reports. Jiwoo found that funny. She was barely 160 centimeters tall. She weighed less than 60 kilograms. How was she dangerous? But the Vraxians had their reasons. They had read reports about Earth, about how humans hunted animals much bigger than themselves, about how humans could run for hours without stopping, about how humans healed from injuries that would kill other species, about how humans never gave up even when they should. So the Vraxians were careful. Human prisoners got the smallest cells, the most guards, the strongest locks, and the cruelest treatment. The Warden of Void's End was named Krell. He was the biggest Vraxian on the ship. His skin was darker than the others, almost purple. His eyes burned brighter. And he carried a shock baton that he used too often. Krell hated humans. Jiwoo did not know why. Maybe he lost someone in a fight with human pirates. Maybe he was just cruel. It did not matter. The result was the same. Krell walked through the prison looking for reasons to punish human prisoners. Jiwoo learned to be quiet, to keep her head down, to never look Krell in the eyes. Other humans told her the same thing. Stay invisible. Stay alive. There was another human who worked on the ship. His name was Hyun. He was a security officer, but not like the guards. He monitored the cameras and the computer systems. He made sure everything ran smoothly. Hyun was tall for a human, almost 180 centimeters. He had short black hair and tired eyes. He wore the gray uniform of ship security, but he never carried a weapon. The Vraxians did not trust humans with weapons. Jiwoo saw Hyun sometimes when guards moved prisoners through the corridors. He always looked sad. His job was to watch the cameras and see everything that happened. All the cruelty, all the pain. And he could do nothing about it. One day everything changed. The ship shook. Alarms rang through the corridors. Red lights flashed. Jiwoo jumped up from her bench. She pressed her face against the small window in her cell door. Guards ran past. Their heavy boots made the floor shake. They shouted in their language. Jiwoo did not understand all the words, but she knew something big was happening. Later she learned the truth. The ship had raided an illegal human colony on a small moon. The Galactic Council said humans could not settle there, but humans did it anyway. They built farms and houses. They started families. The Vraxians came with weapons. They arrested everyone, adults, elderly people, and even children. They put them all in chains and brought them to Void's End. That was when Day arrived. Day was just a child, 8 years old. Small even for a human child, maybe 120 centimeters tall, thin arms and legs, short black hair that stuck up in different directions, big dark eyes that looked too old for such a young face. The Vraxians put Day in the maximum security section, the same section where Jiwoo was held, the same section where they kept the most dangerous prisoners. Jiwoo watched through her cell window as guards dragged Day down the corridor. The child did not cry, did not scream, just walked quietly between the huge Vraxian guards looking at everything with those old eyes. They put Day in a cell 2 doors down from Jiwoo. She heard the heavy door slam shut, heard the locks click into place, then silence. That night Jiwoo could not sleep. She kept thinking about the child, about how scared Day must be, about how wrong it was to put a child in this terrible place. The next morning Jiwoo heard a small voice. It came from Day's cell. Hello? Is anyone there? Ji-woo moved to her door. She spoke quietly. I am here. My name is Ji-woo. I am Day. I know. I saw them bring you here. Are you okay? There was a pause. Then Day said, I am not hurt. But my mother, they took her somewhere else. They said she was sick. They would not let me stay with her. Ji-woo felt her heart break. I am sorry, Day. I am sure they are taking care of her. She did not believe her own words. The Vraxians did not care about their prisoners, especially not sick ones. You're lying, Day said. The child's voice was calm, not angry, just stating a fact. But thank you for trying to make me feel better. Ji-woo did not know what to say to that. Over the next few days, Ji-woo and Dai talked through the walls. Day asked questions about everything. About the ship, about the guards, about the stars outside. Ji-woo answered what she could. She tried to keep the child's mind busy, tried to give Day something to think about besides fear and loneliness. Other prisoners heard them talking. They started talking too, sharing stories, sharing hope. For the first time in months, the corridor felt less like a tomb. But Krell noticed he did not like prisoners talking. He did not like prisoners having hope. Hope made them brave, and brave prisoners were dangerous prisoners. One morning, Krell came to Ji-woo's cell. He opened the door. His forearms crossed over his chest. His yellow eyes burned bright. You, he said in broken human language, making too much noise. Causing trouble? I was just talking, Ji-woo said quietly. That is not against the rules. Krell's mouth twisted into something like a smile. Everything is against rules if I say so. You understand, human? Ji-woo nodded. She kept her eyes down. Stay invisible. Stay alive. But then Krell said something that made her blood run cold. Maybe I teach you lesson. Maybe I teach small human too. Children learn fast when they see pain. He was talking about Day. Ji-woo looked up. She forgot to be invisible. Leave the child alone. Day did nothing wrong. Krell's smile grew wider. Now you give orders? Now you tell me what to do? He reached for his shock baton, and that was when everything started to fall apart. Krell pulled the shock baton from his belt. It was a terrible weapon, black metal with blue energy crackling along its length. Ji-woo had seen what it did to prisoners, the pain it caused, the burns it left behind. She took a step back. Her legs hit the bench. There was nowhere to go. The cell was too small. Please, she said. I will be quiet. I promise. Krell moved closer. His forearms spread wide. He blocked the entire doorway. Too late for sorry. You need to learn. All humans need to learn. He raised the baton high. Ji-woo closed her eyes. She tried to make herself small. Tried to protect her head with her arms. The baton came down hard. It hit her shoulder. Pain exploded through her body like lightning. Every muscle locked tight. She could not breathe. Could not think. Could only feel the terrible burning pain. She fell to the floor. Her body would not obey her. She tried to curl up. Tried to protect herself. Krell stood over her. His yellow eyes were bright with satisfaction. Good, now you learn. Now you remember who is in charge here. He raised the baton again. But before he could strike, something impossible happened. A small hand shot through the doorway. It grabbed the baton mid-swing. Stopped it completely. Krell froze. He stared down at his weapon. A human child held it, just held it, with one small hand wrapped around the crackling energy. Day stood in the corridor. The child should not have been there. The cell door should have been locked. But somehow Day had gotten out. Somehow Day had moved faster than the huge Vraxian guard could react. The child's face was calm. Those two old eyes stared up at Krell without fear. Let go, Krell said. His voice was not so confident now. Day did not let go. Instead, the child's grip tightened. The baton's energy flickered, sparked. Day did not even flinch from the electricity. You hit her, Day said quietly. That was wrong. Krell tried to pull the baton back. His muscles bulged. All four of his arms tensed. But the baton did not move. An 8-year-old human child held it like it was nothing. Let go, Krell shouted now. Other guards heard him. They came running. Their boots made thunder in the corridor. But they all stopped when they saw the scene. A tiny human child holding their warden's weapon, holding it so tightly that Krell could not pull it free. Day looked at Ji-woo on the floor, looked at the burn mark on her shoulder. then looked back at Krell. "Hit her again," Day said. The child's voice was steady, clear. "I dare you." The corridor went silent. Every prisoner who could see watched through their cell windows. Every guard stared. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Krell's face changed color, from blue to purple to almost red. His eyes burned brighter than ever. But underneath the anger there was something else. Something the prisoners had never seen before in a Vraxian guard. Fear. He was afraid of a child. "This is impossible," Krell whispered. "You are just a small one. You should not have this strength." Day said nothing, just kept holding the baton, kept staring. In the security office, Hyun watched everything on his monitors. His hands gripped the edge of the desk. His heart pounded. He had been reviewing camera feeds when the alarm went off. Day's cell door opening without authorization. Guards rushing to the corridor. And now this. He knew what would happen next. Krell would call for backup. They would stun the child. Hurt Day badly? Maybe kill the child to make an example. And Hyun would have to watch it happen. No, not this time. His fingers flew across the keyboard. He had been planning this for months, studying the ship's systems, finding weaknesses, preparing for the day when he could not watch anymore. That day was today. Hyun locked down the corridor. All the doors sealed. The guards who had just arrived found themselves trapped. They pounded on the doors, but the metal was thick, designed to hold even the strongest prisoners. Krell's communicator crackled. "Sir, we are locked out. The doors will not open." Krell kept his eyes on Day. "Override them." "We are trying, sir. Someone is blocking our commands from the security office." Krell understood then. The human. The security officer. He is helping them. Inside the corridor, it was just Krell, Day, Jiwoo, and 2 other guards. The other guards looked at each other nervously. They had never seen anything like this. "Grab the child," Krell ordered. The 2 guards moved forward. They were careful. They had heard the reports about human strength, but seeing it was different. This was just a child, a small, skinny child. But that child held a shock baton that a full-grown Vraxian could not pull free. The first guard reached for Day. Fast, like striking a snake, Day let go of the baton and moved. The child was faster, impossibly fast. Day ducked under the guard's grabbing hand, spun, and kicked. The small foot hit the guard's knee. There was a crack. The guard screamed and fell. The second guard pulled out his own baton. He swung it at Day. But the child dropped to the floor, rolled, and came up behind him. Day grabbed his belt and pulled. The heavy guard lost his balance and crashed into the wall. All of this happened in seconds. Less than seconds. By the time Krell processed what he was seeing, both his guards were down. And the small human child stood between him and Jiwoo. "This is not possible," Krell said again. His voice shook now.
"You are a child."
"Children are weak." The report said human children are weak. Day tilted ahead. "Your reports were wrong." Other prisoners started making noise. They banged on their cell doors. They shouted. They cheered. For the first time in months, maybe years, they saw a guard afraid. They saw power shift. Jiwoo managed to sit up. The pain in her shoulder was terrible, but she forced herself to move. She looked at Day and saw what the Vraxians should have understood from the beginning. Human children were not weak. They were young predators. They could run for hours, climb trees, fight each other and laugh about it later. They healed fast. They learned fast. They adapted. And when someone threatened their family, their pack, their people, they became dangerous. The galaxy had never seen anything like humans before. They looked soft, small, fragile. But looks were lies. Every human was descended from ancestors who hunted mammoths, who crossed oceans in wooden boats, who climbed the highest mountains just to see what was there. Every human child carried that legacy in their bones. Krell saw it now. Too late, but he saw it. This child would not back down. This child would fight until there was nothing left to fight with. He dropped his baton. It clattered on the metal floor. "Stand down," he said quietly, but Day did not move. "You hurt her. You were going to hurt her again." I made a mistake." "Yes, you did." Krell looked at his 2 guards on the floor, looked at the child who put them there, looked at the faces watching from every cell window. His authority was broken. Every prisoner saw it. Every guard saw it. In the security office, Hyun's communicator erupted with angry voices. Commanders demanding to know what was happening. Engineers trying to override his lockdown, threats, orders, chaos. Hyun ignored them all. He watched Day on the monitor. Watched this tiny child stand up to the worst bully on the ship, and he made a decision. He opened a channel to every speaker in the prison section. When he spoke, his voice echoed through every corridor, every cell. Attention all prisoners. This is Officer Hyun. I am giving you a choice. Stay in your cells and nothing changes. Or stand up. Right now. Together. He pressed another button. Every cell door in the human section clicked open. We are not going to be afraid anymore, Hyun said. We are not going to let them hurt us anymore. We are not going to be invisible. Day looked up at the speaker, then looked at Jiwoo. The child smiled for the first time since arriving on Void's End. I like him, Day said. Cell doors opened. Humans stepped out into the corridor, slowly at first, then faster. They had been prisoners, victims, afraid, not anymore. And Krell, the great warden, backed away from an 8-year-old child and realized he had made a terrible mistake. He had forgotten the most important rule about humans. They were never more dangerous than when they had nothing left to lose. The alarm system screamed through the entire ship. Red lights flashed in every corridor. The computer's voice repeated the same message over and over. Security breach. Maximum security section compromised. All personnel respond, but the personnel could not respond. Hyun had locked them out. Every door in the prison section was sealed. The guards outside pounded on the metal. They shouted. They tried to override the system. Nothing worked. Inside, the humans were free. They stepped out of their cells slowly. Some of them had been locked up for years. They blinked in the corridor lights. They looked at each other. They looked at the open doors. They could not believe it was real. Jiwoo stood up using the wall for support. Her shoulder still burned from the shock baton, but the pain did not matter now. She watched as 30 humans gathered in the corridor. Young and old, men and women, all of them staring at Krell and his 2 injured guards. Krell pressed himself against the wall. His forearms were raised, showing he meant no harm. But his yellow eyes darted back and forth, looking for escape, looking for help. There was none. What do we do now? Someone asked. It was an older man named Tae. He had gray hair and scars on his face. We have no weapons, no plan. They will break through those doors eventually. Day walked over to Krell's dropped baton, picked it up. The weapon was almost as long as the child was tall. The energy crackled and hummed. We make them afraid, Day said simply. Like they made us afraid. No, Jiwoo said firmly. She pushed away from the wall, walked over to Day. We are not like them. We do not hurt people just because we can. They hurt you, Day said. Those old eyes looked up at her. They hurt all of us. I know. But we are better than them. We have to be better. Day thought about this, then nodded slowly and handed the baton to Jiwoo. Then what do we do? That was the question. They were free but trapped. The corridor was sealed. They had no ship, no way to call for help, and dozens of armed guards were trying to break through the doors. Hyun's voice came through the speakers again. Jiwoo, can you hear me? Jiwoo looked up at the camera in the corner. I hear you. Good, listen carefully. I can keep the doors locked for maybe an hour. Maybe less. The engineers are working to override my commands. We need a real plan. What kind of plan? The kind where we take control of the ship. The humans looked at each other. Take control? Of an entire prison ship? It sounded impossible. But then Tae laughed. It was a rough, bitter sound. Why not? We are already criminals in their eyes. Might as well earn it, others nodded. They had nothing to lose. Life in these cells was not really living anyway. It was just waiting to die slowly. Hyun, Jiwoo said. What do you need us to do? The ship has 5 main systems. Life support, engines, weapons, communications, and the bridge. I control security and life support from here. But I cannot reach the other systems without physically being there. And the moment I leave this office, they will lock me out. So we need to get to those places first. Yes. But there is a problem. This section is isolated. There are 2 ways out. The main entrance where all the guards are waiting. And the maintenance tunnels. Maintenance tunnels? Dai asked. They run through the walls. Small spaces where repair crews can access the ship's systems. They are not meant for regular travel. And they are not meant for anyone as big as Vraxians. Jiwoo understood. But humans could fit. Yes, barely. It will be tight, dark, and dangerous. But it is a way out. The humans gathered closer. They spoke in low voices, shared ideas, made decisions. It was strange, Jiwoo thought. She had been alone in her cell for months. All of them had been alone. But now working together they became something more, something stronger. Day tugged on her sleeve. Jiwoo, I am small. I can go through the tunnels easy. No, it is too dangerous. I am already in danger. We all are. And I am the smallest here. I can fit through spaces others cannot. Day was right. The child was small, thin, and quick. If anyone could move through those tunnels fast, it was Day. But Jiwoo hated the idea. Day was just a child. Children should be protected, not sent into danger. Let me go, Day said again. My mother is somewhere on this ship. Somewhere in the medical section. If I can reach the bridge, maybe I can find her. Maybe I can help everyone. That was when Jiwoo saw the truth. Day was not just brave. Day was desperate. The child needed to do something. Needed to believe it was possible to save people. Especially one person. Okay, Jiwoo said quietly. But not alone. Others will go through the tunnels too. We split up. Cover more ground. And Day, you do not take risks. If something goes wrong, you hide. You survive. Understand? Day nodded seriously. Yun gave them instructions through the speakers. Where the tunnel entrances were. Which paths led where. What to avoid. His voice was calm and clear, like he had planned this for a long time. Maybe he had. Maybe he had been waiting for someone to be brave enough to start fighting back. They opened the first tunnel entrance. It was a small panel in the wall near the floor. Behind it was darkness. A narrow shaft that smelled like metal and oil. Day went first. The child crawled into the tunnel without hesitation. Disappeared into the shadows. 3 others followed. Tae, a young woman named Yoon, and a thin man named Jun. They each had assignments. Places to go. Things to do. Jiwoo stayed in the corridor with the rest. They needed to keep the guards busy. Make noise. Make them think all the prisoners were still in this section. Krell was still pressed against the wall, watching everything. You are making a mistake, he said. His voice was quiet now. No more shouting. No more threats. You cannot win. There are hundreds of crew on this ship. You are just prisoners. Prisoners who are tired of being prisoners, Jiwoo said. They will kill you, all of you. Maybe, but at least we will die standing up. Something changed in Krell's eyes. Not respect exactly, but understanding. He had been a soldier once before he became a warden. He knew what it meant to fight even when there was no hope of winning. The human insecurity, Krell said. Hyun, he has been planning this for a long time, yes? I do not know. I think yes. I think he watched and waited. Smart, patient, dangerous qualities in an enemy. We are not your enemies. We just want to be free. Krell made a sound that might have been a laugh. In space, everyone is enemy to someone. That is the way of things. In the maintenance tunnels, Day crawled through the darkness. The space was tight. The child's shoulders brushed both walls. There was barely room to move forward. But Day did not stop. Did not slow down. Hands and knees on cold metal, following the path Hyun described. Left turn, straight, right turn. Down a level. Straight again. Behind Day, Tae crawled with more difficulty. He was bigger, older, his joints hurt. But he kept going. Kept the child in sight. They could hear sounds through the walls. Guards running. Orders being shouted. The ship was full of activity. Everyone looking for escaped prisoners. Everyone wondering what was happening. No one looked in the walls. After 20 minutes of crawling, Day reached a vertical shaft. It went up several levels. There were metal rungs on the wall for climbing. This is where we split up, Tae whispered. You go up to the bridge level. I go this way to engines. Remember, stay hidden. Stay smart, you too, Day said. The child started climbing. Up and up into the darkness. The rungs were cold under small hands. The shaft seemed to go on forever. But finally, Day reached another horizontal tunnel. Crawled through it. Found a grate that looked down into a corridor. The bridge corridor. Clean. Bright. With guards standing at attention outside the main door. Day watched them. Counted them. Looked for weaknesses and smiled. In the security office, Hyun monitored everything. His screen showed the guards trying to break through the sealed doors. Showed the engineers working on override codes. Showed the prisoners in the corridor ready to fight. And in one small camera view, he saw movement in the maintenance tunnel. Saw Day reach the bridge level. Good, he whispered. Very good. His communicator crackled again. The ship's captain this time. Officer Hyun, you will unlock those doors immediately. That is a direct order. No, sir. I will not. You are committing treason. You will be executed for this. Maybe. But I will not watch you hurt them anymore. I will not be invisible anymore. He cut the communication, took a deep breath, and pressed another button. Every light in the ship went out. Emergency power kicked in after 3 seconds. Dim red lights. Just enough to see. But in those 3 seconds of total darkness, everything changed. The guards at the bridge door heard something. A soft sound. Like air moving. They turned. Reached for weapons too slow. Day came out of the ventilation grate like a shadow. Rolled across the floor. Grabbed the first guard's leg and pulled hard. He went down. The second guard swung his baton. But he was aiming where Day had been, not where the child was now. Day was already behind him. Jumped, grabbed his belt. Used it to pull up and kick him in the back of the knee. He went down too. 8 seconds. 2 guards down. An 8-year-old child standing in the bridge corridor. The doors opened. Officers looked out. Saw the guards on the ground. Saw the small human child. One of them laughed. Really? They sent a baby to attack the bridge? Day looked up at him with those 2 old eyes. I am not a baby, and I did not come to attack. Then why are you here? I came to take your ship. The officer stopped laughing, because in that moment he realized something. The same thing Krell realized in the corridor. The same thing the Galactic Council should have understood. The bridge officer reached for his weapon. But Day was faster. The child ducked low, swept his legs, and sent him crashing to the floor. Before he could get up, Day was on his back, pulling his communicator from his belt. Hyun, Day said into the device. I am at the bridge. In the security office, Hyun felt his heart race. Already? How did you move so fast? I ran, of course. Human children could run, fast and far. The tunnels were straight in many places. D had not crawled the whole way. The child had sprinted through the darkness like it was nothing. Good work, Hyun said. Now stay back. Let the bridge crew think about what they want to do. Give them time to be afraid. More officers came to the bridge door. They saw their companion on the floor, saw the small human standing over him. They pulled weapons but did not fire. The ship's captain pushed through them. Captain Vor was a Vraxian, but older than most. His blue skin had faded to gray. His forearms moved slowly, carefully. He had commanded ships for 40 years. He had seen many things, but he had never seen anything like this. Child, he said slowly, you are very brave, or very foolish. I have not decided which. I am Day, and I am taking your ship. By yourself? One small human against my entire crew? Day tilted a head. Not by myself. There are others. They are everywhere now. In your engines. In your life support. In your weapon systems. My friend Hyun controls your security. And down in the prison section, 30 more humans are ready to fight. Captain Vor's eyes narrowed. You are lying, am I? The captain's communicator crackled. Sir, we have a problem in the engine room. Someone sabotaged the main controls. We are losing power. Another voice came through. Captain, life support is failing in sections 4 through 9. All the guard quarters, a third voice, panicked now. The weapons are offline! Someone locked them out. Captain Vor stared at Day. What have you done? What we had to do. You left us no choice. Down in the engine room, Tay worked quickly. He was not an engineer, but he had worked on ships before his arrest. He knew which cables to cut, which systems to disable. The massive engines that pushed the ship through space began to slow. Not stop, just slow. Enough to make everyone nervous. Enough to show that the humans could do worse if they wanted. 2 guards found him there. They raised their batons. Step away from the controls. Tay turned slowly. He was an old man, scarred and tired, but his eyes were hard. No, we will stun you, then stun me. But when I fall, my hand will hit that panel, and the engines will shut down completely. Then this ship goes nowhere. We all drift in space until the air runs out. The guards looked at each other, looked at the panel, looked at Ty's hand hovering over it. They backed away. In the life support section, Yoon worked on the environmental controls. She had been a doctor before her arrest. She understood biology, understood what different species needed to survive. She set the oxygen level higher. Not dangerous, just uncomfortable for Vraxians. Their thick skin did not handle extra oxygen well. It made them tired, slow, but for humans, extra oxygen was perfect. It made them stronger, faster, sharper. The guard quarters began to feel stuffy, hot. The Vraxian guards opened their uniforms, trying to breathe easier. Some of them sat down, complained of headaches. The humans felt fine. Better than fine. They felt alive. June reached the communications center. This was harder. There were 5 officers here, all working to send messages, calling for help, trying to reach the Galactic Council. But June had a plan. He pulled the fire alarm in the corridor outside. Water sprayed from the ceiling. Alarms blared. The officers ran out to see what was happening. June slipped inside, found the main console. Hyun had told him what to do. He plugged in a small device. It was something Hyun had built over months, hiding it from inspections. The device began to work. It recorded everything. Every communication. Every order. Every report about prisoner treatment. Evidence. Proof of what the Vraxians had done. June grabbed data files too. Medical records showing neglect. Security videos showing violence. Financial records showing how the prison made money from prisoner labor. He loaded it all onto the device. When the officers came back soaking wet and angry, June was gone. Back into the tunnels. In the prison corridor, Ji-woo and the others waited. The guards outside had stopped trying to break through the doors. That was worrying. It meant they were planning something else. What are they doing? Someone asked. I do not know, but we need to be ready. She was right to worry. The guards were bringing cutting torches. They would burn through the doors. It would take time, but it would work. Krell watched the prisoners prepare for the fight that was coming. They made weapons from whatever they could find. Broken pieces of furniture. Metal torn from the walls. Not much, but something. You cannot win, he said again. But this time there was less certainty in his voice. You keep saying that, Ji-woo replied. But we are still here. Still fighting. Why? What is the point? Even if you take the ship, where will you go? The Galactic Council will hunt you. You will be criminals forever. We are already criminals. You made us criminals just for being human. For trying to survive. The first door began to glow red as the torch cut into it. Smoke filled the corridor. The prisoners coughed but held their ground. On the bridge, Captain Vor made a decision. He could see this was not a simple riot. This was organized, planned, and somehow impossibly it was working. Officer Hyun, he said into his communicator. I know you can hear me. Let us talk. In the security office, Hyun hesitated. Then he opened the channel. I am listening. You want something? Tell me what it is. Maybe we can negotiate. I want the abuse to stop. I want fair treatment. I want humans to be recognized as sentient beings with rights. That is not my decision to make. The Galactic Council decides such things. Then take us to the Council. Let us present our case. Captain Vor was quiet for a moment. And if they refuse? If they say no, then we will take your ship. We will go somewhere far away, somewhere we can be free. You would become pirates, outlaws. Better that than slaves. The captain looked at Day, still standing guard in the corridor, looked at the determination in that small face. You are serious, all of you. Yes. The small one, Day. The child said something about a mother in medical. Hyun's voice became hard. What about her? Bring the child to me, unarmed, peaceful, and I will take the child to see the mother, as a sign of good faith. Day heard this through the communicator. No, it is a trick. Maybe, Captain Vor said. Maybe not. But I am an old Vraxian. I have lived long enough to learn some wisdom. And one thing I learned is this. People who fight for their families fight hardest. If you want peace, you must show respect for families. Ji-woo's voice came through now. She had joined the communication channel. How do we know you will keep your word? You do not. You must trust, just as I must trust that you will not destroy my ship while I am gone. It was a risk, but maybe the only chance, Day, Ji-woo said gently. What do you think? The child was quiet for a long time, then said, I want to see my mother. Then be careful. Be smart. I will. Day walked onto the bridge slowly, hands visible. No weapons. The officers watched nervously. This small human had defeated 2 guards without weapons. What could the child do with weapons? But Day made no aggressive moves. Just stood before Captain Vor and waited. The captain knelt down, all 4 of his arms folded. Getting down to the child's level, You are brave, Day, brave like a warrior. In my culture, we respect warriors, even small ones. I am not a warrior. I am just a kid who wants to see their mom. Come, I will take you to her. They walked through the ship together. It was strange. A huge Vraxian captain and a tiny human child. Officers stared as they passed, could not understand what was happening. In medical, they found Day's mother. Her name was Hai. She was thin and pale, lying in a bed. She had been sick when they arrested her. The Vraxians gave her basic treatment, but nothing more. When she saw Day, tears filled her eyes. "My baby, you are alive." Day ran to her, climbed onto the bed, hugged her tight. "I am okay, Mom. We are taking the ship. We are going to be free." Hai looked at the captain. "What is this? Why are you allowing this?" "Because your child taught me something today," Captain Vor said slowly. "Taught me that humans are more than we thought. More dangerous, yes, but also more noble. The child could have hurt my officers, could have destroyed our systems. But instead, the child negotiated, showed restraint, showed wisdom. Day is 8 years old. Yes, and wiser than many adults I know," the captain's communicator crackled. "Sir, the cutting is almost through. The door will open in minutes. Stop cutting," he ordered. "Sir?" I said stop. "Open the doors. Let the prisoners out." There was shocked silence. "Then are you certain, sir?" "I am. Open the doors. Let them come to the bridge. We are going to talk." All of us. Jiwoo heard this through Hyun's channel. She looked at the other prisoners. "He is opening the doors." "It is a trap," Tae said. He had made it back from the engines. Maybe, or maybe he is serious. The doors slid open. Guards stood on the other side. Weapons ready, but they did not attack. One of them, a young Vraxian named Keth, spoke. "The captain wants to meet." "To talk, will you come?" Jiwoo stepped forward. "We will come. But if this is a trick, if anyone tries to hurt..." The journey to the Galactic Council took 3 weeks. 3 weeks where humans and Vraxians learned to live together on the same ship. It was not easy. There was anger, fear, mistrust on both sides. But slowly things changed. The humans were given real quarters, not cells. Rooms with beds and windows showing the stars. Day and Hai shared a room. Every night Hai got a little stronger. The ship's real medical care was much better than the prison medical care. Jiwoo worked with Captain Vor to prepare their case. They organized the evidence, made charts and reports, practiced what they would say. Hyun came out of the security office for the first time in months. He walked through the ship like a free man. Other crew members avoided him at first. He had betrayed them, they said, but Hyun did not care. He had done the right thing. Finally, Krell stayed in the brig now, locked in a cell like the prisoners he used to guard. Captain Vor had arrested him for abuse of power. The other guards did not protest. They had seen what Krell was. What he did, some of them were ashamed. They had followed orders, hurt people, thought it was acceptable because the prisoners were just humans. Now they knew better. One day, a young guard named Keth came to Jiwoo. He stood in front of her with his forearms at his sides. His eyes were down. "I am sorry," he said quietly. "I was there. I saw Krell hurt you and others. I did nothing. I'm sorry." Jiwoo looked at him for a long time. "Why did you do nothing?" "I was afraid. Afraid of Krell, afraid of losing my job, afraid of being weak, and now? Now I am more afraid of being like Krell, of hurting people and not caring." He looked up. "Can you forgive me?" Jiwoo thought about this. Forgiveness was hard. The pain was still fresh. The memories still hurt, but hate was heavy. Holding on to it forever would make her like Krell, cruel, hard, lost. "I forgive you," she said, "but you must do better. You must speak up when you see wrong things, even when it is hard. Even when you are afraid, I will. I promise." Other guards came to apologize too. Not all of them. Some were still angry, still thought humans were dangerous animals that needed cages. But enough guards changed their minds. Enough to matter. They spent time with the ship's engineers. The child was curious about everything. How the engines worked, how life support recycled air, how the navigation computer plotted courses through space. The engineers were surprised. This small human understood complex ideas quickly, asked smart questions, showed real talent. "You could be an engineer someday," one of them said. "A good one," Day smiled. "Maybe. Right now, I just want to help my mom get better. and make sure no one gets locked in cages again. That is a good goal too. Finally, they reached the council station. It was huge. A massive structure floating in space, bigger than 100 ships. It had representatives from every species in the galaxy. Thousands of them, the Void's End docked. Captain Vor, Jiwoo, Hyundai, and 10 other humans prepared to present their case. They wore simple clothes. No uniforms. They wanted the council to see them as people, not prisoners. The council chamber was enormous. Rows and rows of seats rising up like a stadium. Hundreds of alien faces looking down. Some curious, some hostile, some bored. At the front, the council leaders sat. There were 5 of them, each from a different species, each supposedly representing justice and fairness. The chief counselor was a tall one. They were called that because their species grew to 4 meters high, thin like trees, with voices that sounded like wind. The ship Void's End has brought unusual accusations, the tall one said. Claims of abuse, cruelty, violations of sentient rights. But there is a problem. Humans are not classified as fully sentient under council law. They are classified as semi-sentient. Like many predator species, Jiwoo stepped forward. Her legs shook, but her voice was steady. That classification is wrong, and today we will prove it. You may try, but know this. Changing classifications is difficult. Many species have tried. Most failed. Then we will be the ones who succeed. For 3 hours, they presented their case. Jiwoo showed the evidence of abuse, the videos, the medical records, the testimony from prisoners who suffered for months or years. Hyun explained how the guards used fear and violence to control prisoners, how they hurt people not to maintain order, but because they enjoyed it. Other humans told their stories. An old man who lost his daughter to illness because the medical care was so poor. A young woman who was arrested just for being in the wrong place. A father who had not seen his children in 2 years. The council members listened. Some took notes. Others whispered to each other. Then it was Day's turn. The child walked to the center of the chamber, looked up at hundreds of alien faces, and spoke clearly. My name is Day. I am 8 years old. I was arrested because my family tried to grow food on a moon you said we could not live on. We were not hurting anyone. We were not stealing. We were just trying to survive. When the guards took my mother, she was sick. They would not let me stay with her. They put me in a cell alone. I was scared. But then I heard Jiwoo talking through the walls. She told me stories, made me feel less alone. Then the warden hurt her, hit her with a shock baton. And I knew I had to do something. I could not just watch. I could not be silent. Day paused. You say humans are not fully sentient. You say we are like animals. But animals do not do what we did. Animals do not organize, do not plan, do not show mercy to their enemies even when they are afraid. We could have killed the guards, could have destroyed the ship. But we did not. Because we are not monsters. We are people. And we deserve to be treated like people. The chamber was silent. The chief counselor leaned forward. Child, you make a compelling argument. But classifications are based on specific criteria. Intelligence tests, social structures, cultural development. Do humans meet these criteria? Captain Vor stood. May I speak? You may. I have commanded ships for 40 years. I have transported thousands of prisoners from hundreds of species. And I tell you this, I have never seen anything like what the humans did. They took control of my ship with no weapons, with no training. They moved through maintenance tunnels meant for repair drones. They disabled critical systems without destroying anything. They showed tactical thinking and strategic planning. And most importantly, when they had won, when they had all the power, they chose to negotiate instead of seeking revenge. He looked at the council. If that is not sentience, then I do not know what is. The council members discussed among themselves. It took hours. The humans waited, nervous, hopeful, afraid. Finally, the tall one spoke. We have reached a decision. The evidence presented today is substantial. The testimony is credible. And the actions of the humans aboard Void's End demonstrate clear sentient capability. Jiwoo held her breath. Therefore, effective immediately, humans are reclassified as fully sentient. They are granted all rights and protections under council law. All humans currently imprisoned for minor offenses are to be reviewed for release, and a formal investigation will be conducted into the treatment of prisoners on council ships. The chamber erupted. Some species cheered. Others protested. But the decision was made. Humans were free. Truly free. Jiwoo felt tears on her face. She did not try to stop them. Around her, other humans cried too, hugged each other, laughed and sobbed at the same time. Dae ran to Hai, who was sitting in the audience area. Mother and child held each other tight. Hyun stood quietly watching. For the first time in months, he allowed himself to smile. But the tall one was not finished. However, there is a condition. The humans who led this uprising must accept responsibility. You took control of a council ship. You disabled its systems. You imprisoned crew members. These actions, while understandable, were still technically crimes. Jiwoo stepped forward again. What is our punishment? Community service. You will work with the council to reform prison conditions. You will train guards. You will help create new protocols that protect prisoner rights. You will use what you learned to make sure no one, human or otherwise, suffers as you suffered. For how long? 2 years. And then you are free to go wherever you wish. Jiwoo looked at the other humans. They nodded. It was fair. More than fair, we accept. The next 2 years were busy. Jiwoo traveled to dozens of prison ships. She saw terrible things, but she also saw change. Guards learning to treat prisoners with respect. Better medical care. Cleaner facilities. Rules against abuse. It was slow, but it was progress. Hyun worked with security forces across the galaxy, teaching them that cameras and monitors were not just for catching criminals. They were for protecting everyone, including prisoners from guards who forgot their duty. Dae and Hai settled on a colony world. A real one this time. Legal and safe. Hai recovered fully. Dae went to school, made friends, learned engineering like the child had wanted, but Dae never forgot the ship. Never forgot what happened. On the child's 9th birthday, Dae recorded a message. It was broadcast across human space. Across the galaxy, my name is Dae. 1 year ago, I was a prisoner. Today, I am free. But there are still people in cages who should not be. People who are hurting. People who have no voice, so I am asking you, all of you, do not be silent. When you see someone being hurt, speak up. When you see injustice, fight it. Even if you are afraid. Even if you are small, because I learned something important. Size does not matter. Power does not matter. What matters is courage.